Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. There are a host of reasons to visit a public garden. First off, it's usually a lot of fun, but public gardens are also a great way to learn about new plants, to see professional designs, and get inspired for your own garden. During this time of year in particular, visiting a garden through pictures can provide inspiration and ideas for the coming season. So this afternoon, we're going to see some photos of some gardens in Michigan, including famous gardens for children. Back with us this afternoon is our frequent contributor, UVM Extension horticulturalist Leonard Perry. Welcome.
Great.
So what gardens are we going to be featuring today?
Okay, Judy, I was lucky in recent September, to go to central Michigan and see a couple of main gardens. One I'd wanted to see for many years on the Michigan State University campus in Lansing, and then the other in Grand Rapids, which was a new one to me, the Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park.
Now, you said your first stop was the biggest football campus in the country, Michigan State University.
That, most people know it for its football, but that was a huge campus. I'd been there one other time, and I knew when I got on campus and there were 4-lane roads crossing campus.
Yeah,
there were a lot of people
that's a big
there.
place.
It's over 5,000 acres, over 500 buildings, and almost 50,000 students on this campus. It's huge. But one of the things that was one of the original land-grant schools, there's one in each state. UVM, of course, is the one in Vermont that teaches agriculture and has outreach to extension. They were basically one of the first in the country, and they're the one in Michigan to have that, and they had the first horticulture program in the country too.
Nice. All right, so there's also a children's garden.
There is. In addition to the flowers, we'll take a look at the thing I really wanted to see and been wanting to since 1993 is when it started, was the 4-H Children's Garden. And here's actually mosaic culture made of begonias right in the parking lot. And it's just beautiful. It's kind of like peacock with a fanning out with just all begonias in the frame with those plants planted right in there. This 4-H Children's Garden on the Michigan State University campus. And here's the entrance to this garden. Again, this was really about the first in the country, and it was kind of the one that inspired big children's gardens all over. So this has been around a while, been established, and has a lot of places to learn, interaction. You walk in through here, there's just many different types of gardens, a lot of bright colors, a lot of well-labeled plants, so you can see what's going on. This has, see a little tree house in back, you know, rainbow colors, plants planted around that, plants of different parts of the world. So just a lot of different types of gardens. Of course, a model garden railroad, garden scale, like a lot of I've had, and we have a lot in Vermont, and you see those more and more in gardens. This was a pizza garden. Looks like a pizza with a little slice cut out. These are herbs that you might put on pizza, like oregano and all. That's something people could do at home. Yeah. Just a real simple idea that they had there. A perfume garden, things like lavender and plants that are used in perfumes, medicinal plant gardens, just a lot of different herbal ones. Of course, a lot of different types of paving. They again started this. I've seen ones in other children's gardens where people put leaf imprints and you know, have those labeled so kids can learn about leaf shapes. Just a lot of different things. Of course, water features are very important. Here's a bridge, kind of looks like Monet's garden, you know, some water lilies, but it has, you know, fountains and all kinds of little statues and their frogs and so forth. And this was kind of neat to see. That's actually a statue on a bench. Looks so lifelike. You just take a double take looking at this little picnic area, a boy sitting there reading a book on the bench that you could sit next to and get your picture. Now, this part of the children's garden was more learning. You go in, there's a green roof on this building, so a lot of current things, that being one people could learn about, and living walls, and a lot of kids had different types of gardens. This was one garden, it was neat. Those are teacups on posts. I love that. A tea garden, plants that are used for teas, you know, mints and so forth. Just a very simple idea to get kids excited about where plants come from, and colors. These are crayons, different colors, the red, strawberries, you know, with red berries, and the blue lavender. So you could do something like this at home, just a very simple thing, just a small area along a fence. Of course, pollinators are increasingly important in the plight of bees and so forth. So they had a big garden. They had a couple, in fact, one on vegetable plants and the importance of pollinators, and then bees and humans and what we can do, plants we can plant to help the bees. And I thought this was fun. These are all different examples of bee hotels, as they call them, where bees can live, you know, just really kind of neat things. You could find designs for these and make some at home even. It'd be a nice craft project before the season starts. And then this was kind of fun going outside the garden. A little tunnel made of twigs. You can make all kinds of different shapes. This was pretty elaborate, of course, for your kids to run through and walk through. So,
oh, what a great garden.
just a lot of fun stuff there to see.
Now, what kinds of other gardens did you find?
Well, of course, I mentioned Michigan State was the first program in horticulture, and they're one of the All-America Selections trial gardens. Now, we have a display garden in Burlington Waterfront where they display the new ones. Well, this is one of the gardens that actually determines what those winners are going to be, and so they have all kinds of annuals. They have a few perennials. Here's the entrance to the rose garden, and there's some beautiful roses. Even this was, like I say, early fall, and there's some beautiful roses there. In this climate, formal type garden. But then they had just many others. They had some perennials, fairly mature perennial garden, mainly ornamental grasses, some great huge clumps. So you could see over 10, 20 years with a lot of these grasses. And they had some other perennials mixed in. By the greenhouses, these tropical plants, bananas there, castor bean, just a real nice combination of some, those are still very popular in gardens. But walking around this whole horticulture and agriculture area, just, I don't know, it must have been several acres of all along these paths. These were, you know, all kinds of different annuals. They would have hundreds of petunias, for instance, or marigolds, or different things. They had, so this is a whole row of the Pinacetum, the short one called Hamlin, and then one of the new ones, Vertigo, on either end, and dinosaur kale, which is a great plant. I got the idea and grew some of that last year. That's a real fun one in gardens. That would be a good one for a kid's garden. Here's some more of that Vertigo millet, along with the black-eyed Susan vine, growing up on a teepee. So you get that yellow contrasting with those big, huge, and this is a real huge one of those purple-leaved millets that grows a lot bigger than some of the others. And then there's, you know, the color theme areas. This was kind of the purples and lavenders and reddish colors. And here in the little fountain, there's some of the black-leaved elephant ear plants, which again is one of those tropical plants, really likes the warmth. But you can grow them. I've got a small one of having a water feature at home and overwinter it, you know, inside, as long as it doesn't get too cold. And then we'll take a look. There's a statue here. It's very important. Liberty Hyde Bailey is the father of horticulture, and he actually started, he was head of that first horticulture program at Michigan State. He went on to Cornell. He wrote many of the early books, reference books on horticulture, and so passed away in the middle part of the last century. But he's really the father of horticulture that started the whole profession, and he started right there at Michigan State.
Must have been a lot of fun to be there.
It really was, and to see again all these flowers, and it just, you don't realize there are just so many of the petunias and impatiens and begonias, and you just wonder, why do they have so many? After a while, they just kind of blur together, look like the same. But
now, you also visited another Michigan public garden.
Oh, I did. Over in Grand Rapids, there's one that I hadn't heard of before, surprisingly, because it's listed often as one of the top 30 must-see gardens in the world.
Really?
And this is the Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You see, those are marching, band there, and playing instruments. These are sculptures, and that's one of the big features of this park. They also have a children's garden, too, very elaborate, we'll look at, but the sculptures, they have a lot of events there, a lot of education going on, so that is just really a pretty amazing place. A lot of great designs, too, and some plants. This was early fall, so you see the cabbage and kale there looking really good in those beds. Nice combination of textures and colors. Here you see one of the sculptures. Again, haven't even got out of the parking lot into the gardens, and you're seeing all these great plants. And there's one in the foreground planted there, which I thought was pretty neat. It's another one of those millets, but this is kind of a light green-leafed one with these huge flowers called Jade Princess. And that's what I want to try to find this year and grow. Looking through this, I think that would be really fun in gardens. Again, that would be an annual. This is about 6 feet across. This is a pot of coleus, all different types of coleus.
That's
so it really shows you can have big pots. You know, I wouldn't want to move this around, you know, once it's full, but it really shows what you can do with coleus. I thought that was pretty striking. And then their conservatory was just amazing too. All the different environments they had in there. So take a look.
That looks huge. How many stories high is that?
Yeah, that's just where they grow these huge like palms and things in there. You know, it's several stories high. Plus these other houses, each with different environments. Whether the main one, again with the palms and such, very tropical. And in the foreground, that's a croton plant. We see those out in our annual gardens here. We plant them in summer. If you have high light and warmth, they like that. In Florida, they grow outside. You know, very bright color, just many types of the croton. But that's one, again, you can use for foliage in in our annual gardens. But little things tucked away. There's a nice orchid collection. Here was a pot I thought was lovely with, you know, several types of different miniature orchids in it. So again, orchids are pretty tough inside. You almost need a conservatory to really do justice to these. So it's fun when you can visit one like there to see those. Now, I know when I first saw these years ago at a conservatory, of course you wouldn't see these outside. Nepenthes, this is a tropical pitcher plant. Now the upright one that we have in this country, native in the South, is just grows from the ground. This hangs down from up above, and insects actually get caught in there, and it eats them up. So that's kind of a cool plant. Now the Wardian case was named after a man named Ward back in the 1800s. The Victorians used these as a big terrarium, but they're mainly important because the early explorers that went abroad in the 1800s and brought back plants from Asia would use these Wardian cases on the boats to bring the plants back. So that's how a lot of plants in our gardens we have now, originally introduced from Asia and different parts of the world, came back to Europe, and then we got them over here eventually.
So they just didn't stuff them in a box.
Exactly. You know, they didn't have, you know, airlines and things like we have now for quick shipment, but they would use these Wardian cases. So very kind of neat to know about. Some exotic plants. This is a bamboo, and the common name is barcode bamboo because of all those lines of different shapes. Looks like barcodes you see on packages, but it's a golden Hawaiian bamboo, very pretty golden with those green stripes on it. And then sculptures inside too. You just turn a corner and there would be some little sculptures around here. These are kind of the 5 Mercats are called by sculptor Tom Hillis. And then outside, there's a big grassy mound, and you see sculptures there. And then this is the most famous one. It's the American Horse. This was based on a vision by Leonardo da Vinci, plans he never completed. So in 2007, an artist made 2 of these cast. These are 14-ton, 24-foot-high bronze. There were 2 made. The other one's in Milan. This is the most photographed sculpture, but you know, people are just dwarfed by that. But to see that around the corner, it's pretty impressive in this gardens with a low green hill backdrop. So again, in the Meyer Sculpture Gardens. Just a couple of other examples. This is a stainless steel sculptures by a Spanish artist. Again, it's kind of funny just to go around the corner and see an open area with things like that. Or
and they're also different.
Yeah, and this one called Neuron. This is made up of 3,500 stainless steel rods. This came about in 2011 by an artist. And a lot of people may know the famous artist, Auguste Rodin. This is a sculpture by him, Eve. In one of the areas, they have several areas with a lot of these different sculptures. You can just walk around. And then they have, this was kind of a fun area, especially for kids. It's a recreated farm of the plains that you may have seen, you know, 100 years or more so ago. I had the barn and a windmill and the house, and even there they have sculptures, whether it be animals or in this case the farm girl watering plants. So just very fun.
That's terrific. And now, so unique public gardens coupled with some amazing sculptures, it's such a great combination. And you mentioned there's also a children's garden too with sculptures.
There is, which I was just amazed at, and of course they have a lot of sculptures there, so take a look at a few pictures from there, starting at the entrance again, one of those mosaics. This is all ivy. This guy riding his bicycle there is pretty amazing to see. Of course, interactive places with kids. And this was a raised water feature. They could actually float boats in, and that was kind of cool, so they could play and splash and not get in it. This, though, water feature, I got to try it home. This is a swimming pool all with flowers. Idea. This is like licorice plant and that diamond frost spurge, and those are, you know, ivy growing there, some ornamental grasses, all done with flowers, a swimming pool. I just thought, and with flippers on there, I just thought that was pretty, that was probably one of the most special ideas I got. Of course, other sculptures, kids playing ball there in the kids' garden at the Meyer Gardens. And this was kind of cute, things they could touch, like this bear, this little kid touching the nose on that, and dinosaurs. It'd be great to have some dinosaur kale around that plant. And then the Storyteller, another famous sculpture there. Pretty cool to see in the kids' garden. They had some sensory gardens. I guess you can tell what this one was, with a hand just kind of suspended in there in the air, touch, with all the nice soft plants like the Stacy's here, the lamb's ears you could touch. That's
such a great way to get kids involved in gardening, is really get them out there and touch, go be in it.
Yeah, and for adults even, a fun place to walk around. You could always learn things and get ideas.
I know we've mentioned before that you have these gardens and many others on your website that people can take a look at.
Yeah, do, Judy. Yeah, on my website I've got a lot of different gardens. I've got ideas for with kids and so forth. That's at perrysperennials.info. My Perry's Perennial pages, and just there's a lot more there as well. Some fun and games and can do, but hopefully people can take a look at some of the pictures and get some more ideas.
It's never too early to start planning.
Definitely. Year-round you can get ideas.
Thanks a lot, Leonard. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.